All right, Mr. Douglas, we got our music on this morning.
Yeah,
I love
do.
it. Guys, welcome. My name is Dean Harris. I'm the Vice President of Sales here at CrestCore Realty. Welcome to the Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate podcast. It's a podcast where we give out-of-state investors the boots on the ground, knowledge they need to be informed, savvy, and win in the Memphis real estate game. As always, I'm joined by Douglas Skipworth. Douglas, you're our founder, principal broker of CrestCore Realty, CrestCore Property Management, and you are the largest client. So you, as we say, eat the cooking.
Yes.
That's right.
Delicious.
It is delicious. There you go. Today, guys, if you have any questions, email me, dean@crestcore.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I also help buyers and sellers in this market. So if you're buying, you're selling, shoot me that email. I can get you quotes on your property, what it's worth, what we can sell it for, and I can get you on our buyer's distribution list if you're buying. So shoot me that email, dean@crestcore.com. Today, we're in the wild, wild west, aren't we?
Yes. We are right in the thick of it.
July 6th is today's date. This will probably get out in the next day or two, but we are experiencing changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's, truthfully, for investors, Douglas, I don't think it's doomsday.
I wouldn't say that.
If you're a homeowner and you're searching for your dream home and you would like a good deal with a low rate, you're probably in trouble. But I have been, you and I have talked over the last week or so. I have been super relaxed and at ease with where the market's at. I'm actually completely fine.
Yeah.
And I know, there might be some people that are going to be listening to this podcast, and there's going to be some things we talk about that's going to hit home and resonate with them. It did last time.
Oh yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we did the, hey, you be in control, right? Sell when you have control. And I think right now you still do have control. It's getting closer to where you don't.
Yeah.
So with
It's
rates,
changed.
it's definitely changed. So today's we're going to talk about make sure you're ready. Today's podcast is make sure
ready.
that you're ready for what's coming. And with our experience, we went through the 2008 and 2009 real estate bubble bursting and all the
Great
things.
Recession.
Whatever. This is way different than that. But
this is way different.
We're going to experience some of the same things, and we're going to see that pendulum that we talk about all the time here. I think we loosened up, and we're still we're inching down.
Oh, for sure.
It's getting worse. So let's talk about a little bit about make sure you're ready. I think we're going to see some massive changes in the next 6 to 9 months. I really do. Yeah. We're going to see higher rates go up again. I think this month the Feds are taking another rate increase. Is that right?
That's the plan.
They're going to continue to go up, and the biggest thing here is your cash flow is probably going to go down. So you're going to, as the rates go up on you, expenses are going to go up. Your cash flow is going to go down. We need to make sure that you're ready. So we've got a few things that we'll talk about here. What are some of the things when you think of in this market and I say, hey, be ready? What's the first?
And I mean, I was thinking about it kind of an analogy, and I was like, man, it feels like we're in a NASCAR race. I mean, real estate investing in general, it's a little bit like a NASCAR race. Yeah. Where you're making the laps year by year, whatever it is. And it's like there's a pile up. And it just kind of depends where you are in that. So it's like, okay, there's a pile up coming, and you only got a few options, right? You can pull over.
Yep.
You can just plow ahead.
And hope for the best.
Or you can pump the brakes and kind of dial in a little bit. So, and sometimes it depends where you are
in your process,
and even in that pile up, right? Like if you're right in the middle, you might have to pull off. If you're up ahead, maybe you can just pull through and go. Maybe you're in the back, you can kind of pump your brakes and just kind of navigate right through. And I would think, I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but how many cars race? 50, something like that. In a pile up. So maybe there are 5 cars in a pile up. And so those 5 are going to have to pull off, right? But that's that's a small percentage. The majority are either ahead or behind. Most are probably going to be behind. Yes. And they're going to have to navigate through it. So that's where we are. So all I'm saying is like, what would you do in that situation? Yeah. I mean, you're locking in. If you're a driver, you're like locking in. You're back to 10-2 or now 9-3. I think is what the kids are doing. Yeah. And you're just focused, right? You're not waving to the people in the stands
fans
anymore and snapping selfies of yourself. You're like, I'm locked in. I've got to navigate and be aware of what's happening. And so that's where we are again of how do I navigate this? How do I make my way through? I love that analogy. How do I make my way through what's coming?
Because you're going to have some investors that have experienced and have been in this a long time. They're your race leaders. They're going to, and I've already talked to dozens of them. They're plowing through this.
I
want to consider myself up there. I don't know that I hope I'm in that pack because I'm in that mindset of plow right through this race. Yeah, there's some not so hot things happening behind us, but we're prepared and we're good. Let's keep driving.
Yes.
There's that middle crowd that you just referred to that they just got in the accident. All right, now who is that? That's our investors with 1 to 4 homes, didn't buy exactly right, but got in them, haven't managed them properly. Maybe they had a tenant vacate and tear up the property.
Yeah.
Not all in their control. Tenant vacate and tear up the property, or something happened to another one of their tenants and they can't pay the rent anymore. So now they're only getting 50% of their rent. They're barely hanging on. They're going to sell and have to get out.
Yep.
There's your crash victims. And then there in the back, to this analogy, this is great. You've got maybe your under 20 home investors, or guys that are just getting started. Okay. I'll kind of branch it out. There's two different pockets. You just started. Group. Or you're maybe in that 15 to 20 range and you're trying to think to yourself what you described. Am I going to slow down and pull over and see what happens and then maybe inch along after the leaders have lapped me twice? But I'm still in it, right? But they've lapped me 2 times. I'm never going to win.
Yeah.
Or do I just plow right through this thing and hope for the best? I don't know that I'd do that. But slowing down a little bit. Sticking your head out the window, maybe.
Being alert, drive alert, arrive unhurt. That's signs.
DUI signs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the same thing. It's like, hey, I'm going to slow down and I'm going to look for where those cars have landed and crashed and I'm going to avoid them, but I'm not going to get lapped.
No.
And I'm not going to fall so far behind that I can't catch up. So I love that analogy, and I think that's exactly right.
That's what it is. As we just think about kind of where we are and how to navigate it and how to make your move and when to make your move.
I think now's the time to look savvy. I think you can be savvy now. No one's going to know it for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think now is the time. That was one of my notes here. Like, you want to look smart in 3 to 5 years? Let's buy right now.
And we've been talking about this for months of where Memphis specifically is going to be in 10 years and where Memphis is going to be in 20 years. And you just time is on our side. And I just happened to be reading and saw a JP Morgan quote from Pierpont Jr.
Okay.
This is back in 1908.
Okay.
And I'm paraphrasing, but basically, it was something to the effect of, if you're making a long-term bet against the United States business, you're gonna go broke.
Yeah.
And that's the same situation here. Like there are gonna be some ups and downs, but if you're taking this long-term perspective, you got to go all in.
Yeah.
And in real estate investing. So to your point, now is the opportunity, if you're navigating, to build for the future and plan for the next 3 to 5 to 10 to 20 years. So it's always looking ahead.
Warren Buffett just spent how many billions of dollars in the stock market on like 4 or 5 different things. So I don't even, he just put $4 or $5 billion of Hathaway's money into there and to work. In one of the worst times.
Things. I mean, I love Buffett. I haven't kept it up as much day to day as I have over the years. But I mean, one of his best things is like, this is when things go on sale. Like,
everything's
you buy
on sale.
When it's on sale, you buy. You don't buy when it's everybody's there trying to buy it. You wait till things go on sale.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. I mean, you're going to see things go on sale. A little bit, no fire sales.
Yeah, no fire sales.
We're going to reach into that. That's what I keep telling everybody is like, if you're hanging there and you're looking for like a steal, you're going to be hanging there for a while. The backlog of the demand is too much. There's so many people still looking for houses.
And again, because it was the supply, like the supply is anemically low or so historically low that even as the demand cools, it's still more demand than there is supply. So, and that's part of how it is very different than it was in the Great Recession 15 years ago, because the supply was off the chart.
Yep.
And the demand was very low.
Yep.
That's why Wall Street came in 2 or 3 years into it. I mean, they weren't the first ones knocking on the door.
No, they just saw it.
They just saw that, wow, there's a mismatch here, and we're going to step in because of all this excess supply and this low demand. And again, it's completely opposite now. There's this really high demand and really low supply. And so now they're kind of tampering down the demand, and the supply will increase to maybe they will meet again, but it's still going to be a while before they meet.
You ever seen a house on fire and the fire department gets there, or a building?
Yeah.
And they get there, and after an hour they're kind of standing around, but the fire's still going. They don't come in there and it doesn't all go out at once. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They put it out, they control it, and then a lot of times they let it die down. The federal government is doing that right now. They're raising the rate. They splashed a little water on us. It's still burning. They're now just going to creep it up and make sure that everything is not going to spread anymore from a inflation standpoint. But I believe I believe you're right. In both of us, as we're talking here, that you're going to have to do some different things to prepare yourself if you want to look smart in that 3 to 5 year range, right?
Yes.
One thing that I'm personally doing that I know you've done is I'm clearing every line of credit that I have.
Good.
I have 2 houses I'm buying right now. As soon as they're done, I'm going to refinance it and get it off.
And that's good for 2 reasons, right? One, because it gives you dry powder so that you're ready to pounce on opportunities. Number 2 is most lines of credit, or if for a traditional line of credit, are a variable rate.
Yep.
And so that rate will continue to increase. So your expense is going to go up.
Yes.
So if you're carrying a balance,
it's more than I would normally be carrying.
It's going to be more than you're normally carrying, because it's going to be more expensive to borrow on that short term.
Yep. I agree with that. And I think so clearing lines of credit, saving cash, keeping your expenditures down, your business expenses down.
Yeah.
What are some other things?
That like very practical of what you should be doing now to navigate and to prepare. And that is to, when the party's going, you're kind of forgetting. And I always like to say that revenue and income and cash flow covers a multitude of sins, right? And so
does winning.
All of those things, right? You get a little lazy, you cut some corners. So now's a chance before you kind of get into the cars, that you can kind of plan for it. And so here in this scenario is like, look at all your expenses, those recurring fixed and variables, and like, where can you trim? Like, we use a simple example I think we talked about before, like on the personal, like, do you really need subscriptions to Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, Apple TV? Like, hey, maybe you only need 2 of those, not 8 of those. And so cut back. And do that in every area of your life where you've just gotten a little lazy because you've had the money and it hadn't been a worrisome time. So now it's like, all right, let's tighten the belt, trim the fat, do whatever you need to prepare.
We certainly have.
Yes.
I mean, I'm in a 1099 world. I don't get paid unless I sell something. So I have definitely gone home over the last month, 6 weeks, and said, to our family, let's cut out the unnecessaries. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it seems to be going okay, and cash buyers are going to come out, and different things are going to happen. But I'm doing the same thing, especially with my rental business. Like, if there's not any money I have to spend in the rental business right now, I'm certainly not spending it. There's nothing I'm doing with my rental portfolio now that I don't absolutely have to do. I'm just not. I'm waiting.
Yes.
If it's got to be done, it's being done. Right. But if it doesn't, at this point, I'm going to wait 3 months and put that off a little bit and just see what this market does and see what happens. I'm not saying neglect a tenant or neglect a house or do that, but if there are things that come up that, and I know with yours is large,
for sure.
that you're like, I could do that now, or I could wait on that. Just wait. I mean, that's my advice. Just hang tight. Keep your money for right now and just see what happens. Let's see what this is another big one for being prepared. We've talked about it in different areas, but making sure that your lease renewals are up to market rent.
Yeah.
I mean, you might not think that's a huge deal, but if you've got, let's say you got 7 and you raise the rent $100 on each one, I mean, it doesn't take I'm not a mathematician, but that's 80, I think $400 a year more just by making sure you're handling your business here. So it's not even prepare yourself like for your buying and for the future. You need to prepare yourself with your own portfolio. If the rates are going up and you're not raising your rent, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like it's not, you've got to make sure that you're maintaining that proper rent control versus the rent raise that's coming, or the rise in the rent that's coming with it. So those, I mean, that's another one. Let's see.
And to me, again, that's something that you can be more lackadaisical on when times are good. When times are tight, you just need to dial it in and pay more attention, be alert, focus, just ask questions and make sure that you're controlling the top line and the bottom line as best you can.
I had a guy ask me today about flips this morning. He was like, is the flipping market still here? These are things to kind of prepare yourself as you're thinking about. Like, I'd be a little anxious to get out there and want to flip a property right now unless there was some significant gap.
Yeah. A massive spread, or you're not wanting to make as much. But it's like, why would you want to do that?
And then even why do it? But I mean, the massive spread needs to be there, because if you think the home is worth $280, you need to plan on it being about $255 to $260.
Right. Yeah.
Because with the rates keep coming up, it's going to be harder for buyers. You need to start thinking about this, paying closing costs.
Yeah.
I had an agent yesterday tell me, like, her last 3 or 4 listings that she's had sold, the buyers are now asking for it. It's coming.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I saw that there was a agent reading an article. Same thing. The agent was encouraging buyers to ask for sellers to pay closing costs.
Here it goes.
Because and I loved it. It was a quote of a tweet that this agent said. She said, and I wrote it down here. It says, "It's fabulous. Finally, tons of choices, very little competition for buyers." Right. And so
it's a breath of fresh air.
It's a breath of fresh air
for those agents and those buyers and those mortgage lenders and everybody that's there now.
Oh, I mean, how many, 3 months ago, your biggest issue for months at a time was no houses.
None.
There are no houses available. We got too much demand and no availability.
Yes. And it's beginning to tilt. I believe I read a report that for the first month in a long time, we've had a increase in available homes and an average sold price amount dip. I mean, it wasn't much.
No, I was going to say, yeah.
But it dipped. And so that to everybody is a sign of, here it comes.
Here it comes.
I don't really believe that we're going to, I told somebody this, and I tell you this. We used to see houses for sale in 2008, 9, and 10 that offered, and I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, right, sure.
6-month Mercedes-Benz lease, flat screen TVs in 2 or 3 rooms, paid closing cost, 100% financing. I mean, like, you saw
believe it.
All kinds of stuff like that. I do not believe that we're going to get back to quite that.
No.
We were only in that spot for one reason, and that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, but as we had talked about before, on the seller side, it was pay me over list price, cash, no contingencies.
Yeah. There were
like, how long does that last?
Sales.
So neither of those can last.
No.
Take advantage of it while you can if you're a buyer or a seller.
Yeah. But it won't last.
And
we're seeing that happen right now. So one other thing, we talked about slowing your expenses. One other thing that I thought of, and just chime in. You and I don't really write set notes here, but to me, to stay safe is to buy in traditionally solid rental areas. One thing that we saw, and I want to make sure that I get this out loud and clear. One thing that we saw when this market was great, the last 12 months, one thing that we saw were turnkey providers, wholesalers, other just investors go into areas that were traditionally not as strong rental markets because they were struggling to find inventory to sell.
Yeah.
So they've gone into some markets here. I can name them, but they've gone into some markets here and they're trying to wholesale deals and flip deals. This is where I've always encouraged caution when it comes to this. I would really encourage caution now. I don't have anything in areas that I don't sell to people. So
right, yes,
I don't send out houses.
Right,
if you guys are getting houses for me, none of these areas are going to apply. So you don't even have to ask. I don't send them out.
Yep.
But if you're venturing out on your own, there's a lot of people that aren't our clients that listen to this. So
sure.
if you're out there venturing out on your own, be cautious of some of these areas. I think we're doing the zip code breakdown in August.
Right.
So you're going to hear a lot more from us on where to go and where not to go. We'll dive into that. But one of the things I thought of was just buy in traditionally solid areas.
Yes.
Stay safe. You know what I mean?
I mean, I put on here, I mean, we don't talk about it enough about location. I mean, it's so overplayed, growing up, it's location. But traditional rental neighborhoods, I mean, there's a reason that location matters, because you don't want to be in those fringe areas or places that maybe will turn. You don't want to be the nice house in a harder neighborhood. You'd rather be the kind of middle of the road house in a better area or a stronger rental neighborhood. So I completely agree with you, man, on focusing kind of where you want, where you want to be. And as opportunities come, as we've talked about before, take advantage of those, because you will be excited long-term that you're in that area. And one thing about Memphis, I mean, just as an aside, you grew up here. I'm a transplant here, but have been investing here 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. And a change that has come, and why I'm so bullish on Memphis and why I'm really looking forward to the next 10 and 20 years is 25 years ago, as I was driving around Memphis, there would be areas, it seemed to me that when one area would be going up, another would be going down. And so it was always like this equilibrium Memphis had. And I'm originally from Dallas, Texas, spent a lot of time in Nashville, and they were both different. It was like, all areas could be growing at multiple times. In multiple places, things could be happening as the pie was getting bigger overall. And I feel like that has changed in Memphis, where you're not seeing, nice areas over here. That means something bad's happening elsewhere. It's like, no. Good things happening here and good things happening in those fringe areas. Now, it might not happen as quickly as it was, is I think your point now. Mm-hmm. But it's like really good investment, long-term investment. And we've talked on and on about that. And it'll probably come up in the Zip Code Challenge as we're out and about. But it is the time now, even though there's a lot of good going on, the time now is to focus in on those areas, the sure things.
Raleigh's a perfect example. 38128 is a perfect example where 20 years ago, you didn't really want to buy rental houses up there. The last 10 years, you kind of have. The last 5 years, you really have.
Absolutely.
And in the next 5 years, there's no chance it's going down. No. Nike and Amazon and Blue Oval's not too far. And there's no way that's kind of what I mean by traditionally good. The last 15 years or so, 38128 in Raleigh has been fantastic. Yes. Whitehaven's another example. Yes. Like Whitehaven's just going to continue to get better, right? I don't believe that Whitehaven's going to. 38109, that could go back and forth, right? You don't know.
It's just going to be some of it's going to be a little slower. Some of the stuff that was happening down there, it's okay. So focus where you want to be. I have decided to give out the advice that unless you have a really, really solid BRRRR property, okay, let me back up. My advice right now on what to buy and how to buy it is as follows. I would either buy a turnkey home that's great in awesome shape and doesn't need anything, or I would buy one that needs a complete and total full rehab. Yep.
Did you follow what I'm saying?
I do.
I don't think buying in the middle right now is super smart. And the reason why is you're going to still pay a premium for it, but you're going to have some maintenance and you're going to have some things that show up. You're going to have some things that can drown you out. That's kind of what I mean by proceed with caution. So back to our start.
Proceed with caution. That's exactly what it is.
You got that wreck, and in this situation, the wreck is the house that someone gave you that's in decent shape, that doesn't need much work to buy it, to get into it, but to maintain it and to have it for years without it, drowning you out. It might be some navigation around that. You might want to avoid that property. For one, you don't know the maintenance that's going to come after it, or maybe an occupied property that is in okay shape. You're going to buy it right now, and you're forcing yourself to get into it. That might drown you out in 2 years. because the rate's going to go up on it. The maintenance is going to continue to be there. And when it inevitably goes vacant in the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to have a $15,000 rehab.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by the crash in the middle. Like just navigate around that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe take it and buy it, but buy it right.
Right.
You know, come down lower and make sure that you protect yourself.
Yeah.
That's a prime example of you've got one or two homes. Someone just hit you up with another good deal. It's occupied. It's great. Maybe just do a little bit more thorough inspection or talk more about that tenant or pass. It's okay to pass right now.
Yes. You're in control, as a buyer, for sure.
As a buyer right now.
Yes.
You're selling, you're losing it.
Yes.
You're playing tug of war.
Right.
And you've been on it the whole time. You've had the buyers in the water and the mud. Their face has been in it. You've been stomping on it and kicking on it. Oh, if you're from Memphis, you know the
strap,
the Jerry King Lawler, the strap is pulled down and they're coming back up and they're pulling that rope back towards them, and you're losing it. So you hadn't lost it as a seller yet, but you're losing it, and you're going to lose it as it comes along.
That's good. Yeah, I was also thinking. I'm not a Matrix guy, but the movie, it makes me think about Keanu. And when he dodges those, like he can slow time.
Yeah.
And like that's where we are right now.
Yes.
Like with kind of what you're saying, like, like focus in on that, kind of channel your Keanu Reeves and that Neo, I think was his name in that.
Yeah.
And so, where like you can see those bullets coming and you can avoid those. Like you're in control as you're looking into the future. So again, just like locking down and being aware of what's happening, setting your sights, and then making decisions. Not to mix the analogy, but to not pulling off and just sitting on the sidelines and saying, this isn't for me. I
don't care what the market is. You're never going to hear me say, "Whoa, get out, don't touch it." You're just not going to hear me say that. You got to buy different or sell different or whatever.
Yeah.
But you're never going to hear me say, "Now is not the time."
Time has changed, and never's never hard to say, but I know we've been doing it 20 plus years, and there's never been the window's been open, and it has been more narrow, but I've never seen it closed. Which is exactly what you're saying. It's like the window has never closed. Life is happening to people. Mm-hmm. There are people, and again back to that analogy, there are people who are ahead of the pileup. Zoom, man, they are making up time. They
not
are
even feeling this.
Not even feeling this.
I hope that's where I've positioned myself. I hope that's where my clients have positioned themselves. Yes. They're not even going to feel this from a rental portfolio investment standpoint. Personal stuff, I have no idea. I'm hoping these guys from their rental portfolio are not going to feel anything, and that they keep plowing ahead and they keep buying right. You may not buy the same way, but keep buying right. I have two houses on one street. One I paid $55 and one I paid $91. Don't care, because at the time I bought them right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? At the time that there were good deals. Yes, it's two different things, but at the end of the day, I've said this a million times on this podcast. At the end of the day, when I pay those two houses off and they're paying me every month, I'm never going to sit there and go, "Dang, I can't believe I paid more for that one across down the road than I did here." I could care less. It works or it doesn't work. So I've never been in a semi-closing here. I have never been more confident. You and I said this in a meeting with a colleague yesterday. I've never been more confident in my fortune-telling skills than I am right now. And it's only because I refuse to ignore the obvious, and I'm not going to lie to myself about what's happening and what's going on. I feel right now super confident that in the next 6 to 9 months, we are going to see rumbling. You're going to see shaking. You're going to see investors be shook. Okay. There are people listening right now that are not prepared for this. You heard me say this analogy last time, the 4 or 5 house guy.
And there are people who are not listening.
And there's people who are not
prepared.
That is exactly right.
That's the problem. And thankfully, the listeners are getting prepared.
They're getting prepared. But you've heard me say it, and I'll say it again quickly. The guy that's got 4 houses, or gal that has 4 houses, one of them just went vacant and they destroyed it. You need $20,000 to rehab it. The other one, 3 months later, is going to stop paying. They don't know what's going on. You got mortgages on all 4. Now these 2 are barely covering the mortgages. Any maintenance call, anything out of the ordinary is out of your pocket. That investor's coming. They will not be in control of their situation in 6 months. I'm telling you. If you get to December,
you're already seeing it.
I've already had people. I told this story 2 weeks ago. I had a female investor who has 4 or 5 approach me, and I had another guy who said the same thing. I got 6.
Yep.
I'm thinking I might need to sell. Then you need to sell now. Don't come at me in 6 months and say, "Hey man, work a miracle," because it will not happen. The buyers are going to be in way more control. I'm not going to say full control, but I've seen this happen. I've seen this. It's like, I told you the analogy of running football plays. We used it with our colleague.
Right.
I'm lining up at defensive end. Well, I've seen this formation before, but it could be something else. No, it didn't.
No.
Quit lying to yourself. No, it's not. It's the same thing. They're going to run it right at you again. You've already seen it. So be prepared for it. Be ready for what's coming. If you see the future and you don't have 20 grand for the rehab, maybe all 4 years are occupied right now, right?
Great.
And you're listening to me. That's awesome. But if one of those goes vacant and you don't have the 15K, and if another one goes vacant and you're going to be in trouble, now might be the time to sell, regroup. Let's try this again in 12 months and make sure that you stay above water, right? Because if you don't, and that happens to you, and we get to November, December, and January, I'm here to tell you it is going to be tough to sell those for what you want to sell them for. We can sell them.
Oh, sure.
I'll move them for you because there's investors looking. But they're looking over there on the sidelines right now, and they got saliva coming out of their mouth, and they're just sitting here doing this. So don't fall victim to that wolf, because he's there, right? He's speaking to you right now.
Yes, the wolf is ready.
The wolf is ready. And I'm encouraging all those guys and gals that if you're in that boat, you might only have 2, and you might have 10 and you're in that situation. I don't know. And we've seen it on all sizes.
Absolutely.
We've seen guys with 20 and 25 mismanage and fall apart. So it happens, and it can happen. I'm just encouraging all of you guys to talk to me. Just because you email or call or come in does not mean that you're committing to me in any way. I'm just going to try to get you some more information on what you currently have and try to move them. So be ready today. I thought was a good topic.
I heard something the other day where somebody was like, a recession is a terrible thing to waste. In the sense, all he was saying is like that it is a opportunity to get more. If it's just forcing you to get more efficient, it's forcing you to get better, it's forcing you to do those things. And it kind of reminded me, as we were talking about Matrix, Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne, he's like, paraphrasing something to the effect of like, "Hey man, all I can do is show you the door.
Yeah.
Like you have to make the choice whether you walk through it or not." So that's all we're here doing is like, we're just telling you what we're seeing and how to be prepared. So like, we've all got to make those tough choices, whether we want to use this recession, this economic turbulence, this time. Do we want to use it to get better, or do we want to use it as an excuse to say, "Oh, back in 2022, post-COVID, the government and inflation and it all got me." Like that, you make a way or you make an excuse. I have to tell myself that every day because my natural first reaction is to make an excuse.
That's a losing mentality.
Yes.
If you continue to have that mentality, you will lose. I'm not going to use the word loser.
In life. You have lose. To, and we've all can see and be there and do that to play the victim. So it's like, we have to tell ourselves and be here to be like, no, I'm going to walk through the door. I'm going to take control. This is a situation that I can navigate. So
Alec, our producer, did a great job a month or two ago about showing some quotes that I had a year ago.
Right.
If you took advantage, you got it. It was incredible. And a lot of people were like, "Oh man, I can't." You're right. I feel stronger about this than I did that. I'm telling you, if you're that investor that has just a few and you're barely hanging on, I would sell those houses.
Yes.
Before you lose all control of the scenario and the wolves on the sidelines get a hold of you. Okay.
Agree.
Great topic.
Love
Anything
it.
else? Man, last thing I'm going to lead you with is be greedy when others are fearful and fearful when others are greedy. Mr. Buffett. He knows exactly what's going on. I've anybody that's got that kind of success in our market, you got to listen to. But it's the exact time. Be fearful when others are greedy. But right now, I'd encourage you to try to be greedy because every person out there has got some level of fear.
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Great stuff. Anything else?
No, man. That's
all
great.
right. Great topic today. We'll see you guys in a couple weeks. The zip code breakdown is right on the horizon coming in August. So we'll see you soon.
Can't wait.